Anansi and the Three Creatures of the Forest. Anansi wanted to be remembered, so he went to the Great Bear of the forest. The bear said, "If you bring me these three creatures, you will be known as the Honorable Keeper of Stories." The first creatures were the bees. Anansi spun a new hive with his silk and put it up on a nearby tree. Then climbed up another tree to a branch right above the real beehive and dropped a rock onto the hive and destroyed it. All of the bees frantically flew out of their hive. "Bees! Bees, what happened to your home?" One of the worker bees said. "Something came down from a branch above and crushed it." Anansi said, "I know a perfect home for you, on a tree not far from here." He led the bees into his silk hive and said, "In here." The bees went in one by one and got stuck on all the webs inside. Anansi sealed the opening to the hive and brought the bees to his house. The next day, Anansi went back to the smashed hive and put the honey in a jar. The second creature was the forest dwarf. Anansi knew exactly what to do. He put the jar in the forest and said loudly, as if he were talking to himself, "I'm going to leave this jar of honey right here for my snack later." Then he hid behind a bush and waited. Then a forest dwarf came along and said, "Better eat this honey before he comes back," and slurped down all the honey. Anansi jumped out from the bush. The dwarf tried to run and slipped on some spilled honey and got stuck. Anansi put the dwarf in a net and took him home. The third creature was the python. The next day, Anansi went to the river where the python was swimming around. He picked up a stick and said, "I bet this stick is longer than you." The python laughed and said, "Not in a million years." Anansi said, "Then why don't you come out of the river and lie next to it?" The python said, "Fine, but make it quick." So the python slithered out of the river and lay next to the stick. The python said, "Well?" Anansi replied, "Your head and tail are moving a bit. I'm gonna have to tie you to the stick." So Anansi tied him on and then said, "Gotcha." Carried him away. The python said, "Curse you, Anansi, curse you." Anansi went to the Great Bear of the forest and brought all three creatures with him. The bear said, "You have done well, Anansi. You shall be known as the Honorable Keeper of Stories."